Netflix just premiered Conversations with a Killer, the Son of Sam tapes, teasing the last word from David Berkowitz himself. The new episodes splice rare prison audio with fresh interviews, recreating the night air of 1970s New York in Dolby surround. But even as Berkowitz's voice crackles through your speakers, entire lines of inquiry stay silent, and crucial documents never flash on screen. Today we'll retrace the murders, the manhunt, and the prison years, then surface the gaps the series brushes past, so you can decide which theory still holds water almost half a century later. July 29, 1976. A .44 caliber revolver fires through an open car window in the Bronx, instantly killing 18-year-old Donna Loria and wounding her friend, Jody Valenti. Police initially treat it as a tragic one-off, but by October, a similar ambush rocks Queens, and by March 1977, detectives connect shell casings from 3 boroughs. Couples stop parking at lovers' lanes, parents impose 10 p.m. curfews, gun shop owners sell out of bulldog revolvers within days. By the final attack on July 31, 1977, the tally stands at 6 dead and 11 wounded, and the shooter's handwritten Son of Sam letters have turned panic into full-blown cultural trauma. Every new headline resets the city's blood pressure, and patrol rosters balloon as officers pull double shifts in hopes of catching a break. New York's tabloids, locked in circulation wars, splash giant red type "No one is safe" across front pages that sell out by sunrise. TV anchors interrupt Yankees games with late-night bulletins, and some bars reportedly turn off jukeboxes at midnight to keep doorways clear of glass reflections that could mask a gun muzzle. Beauty salons report dozens of women requesting sudden dye jobs, switching from brunette to blonde because rumors claim the killer targets dark hair. Parallel to the public dread, detectives face information overload, hundreds of crank calls, psychics mailing map coordinates, and dozens of men turning themselves in just to end the tension. The question for police brass becomes how to share enough facts to protect the public without inspiring copycats. An early lesson in the now familiar dance between law enforcement and 24-hour news cycles. July 31, 1977 brings the final shooting. Stacy Moskowitz and Robert Violante are ambushed in a Lover's Lane spot near Gravesend Bay. A witness sees a yellow Ford Galaxy racing away, and detectives find a parking ticket issued minutes before the attack. That slip of paper links to David Berkowitz, a 24-year-old Yonkers postal clerk with no prior violent history, only a handful of parking fines, and a neighbor who owns an eerily persistent barking dog. On August 10th, officers surround Berkowitz's car, peer through the window, and spot the .44 Bulldog on the back seat. He exits calmly, allegedly smiles and says, "Well, you got me," before describing a demon-possessed dog named Harvey that commanded him to kill. Within a week, he pleads guilty to 6 murders, avoiding a lengthy trial and sparing the city grueling testimony, but also shutting the door on cross-examination that could have locked down or dismantled alternative leads. By 1979, investigative reporter Maury Terry publishes The Ultimate Evil, proposing that Berkowitz belonged to a satanic network with ties to the Process Church of the Final Judgment. Terry points to mismatched witness sketches, differing shell groove patterns on recovered bullets, and a web of occult symbols spray-painted across Yonkers Park tunnels. Throughout the 1980s, late-night radio shows dissected Terry's maps, turning the cult idea into conspiracy lore. In 1993, Berkowitz granted a televised interview hinting at other shooters, but refusing to name them, claiming he fears retaliation. NYPD reopens a limited inquiry, rereads ballistics, and ultimately labels the cult theory unsubstantiated. But internal memos, now public via FOIA, show at least 2 detectives kept personal files alive into the 2000s. That unresolved tension, lone gunman or network terror, shadows every anniversary special to this day. Following sentencing, Berkowitz cycles through Attica, Sullivan, and Shawgunk Correctional Facility, rarely giving press interviews. By 1987, he announces a religious conversion, rebranding himself the Son of Hope, and launching a prison ministry that exchanges letters with church groups worldwide. Over 12 parole hearings starting in 2002, and most recently in May 2024, Berkowitz offers consistent remorse, yet tells commissioners he deserves to be locked up. Victims' relatives counter that his ever-shifting stories, dog demons, cult accomplices, solitary evil, keep reopening wounds. The parole board cites ongoing risk, public safety, and community trauma, each time it stamps denied. Inmates who've shared cell blocks describe Berkowitz as low-key, working in prison kitchens and chapel libraries. But correctional officers note he still receives more mail than most inmates combined, evidence that fascination overrides resolution. Director Joe Berlinger layers crackly 1980 Jack Jones prison tapes with new B-roll of crime scenes, letting Berkowitz narrate his own darkness. The series does an atmospheric job of illustrating 1970s New York. Steam-grate fog, police radio squawking, Breslin typing furiously in a newsroom that smells of stale coffee. But for all its footage, the doc sidesteps certain files. A 1996 private lab report noting 2 distinct rifling patterns in recovered bullets. 2023 FOIA telexes referencing a North Bronx suspect never publicized, and the question of whether modern DNA shell casing analysis might differentiate shooters. Berlinger has admitted in press stops that runtime and legal clearances shape content, reminding viewers that any ultimate version of events still competes with locked evidence rooms and withheld lab work. The result? Compelling television that closes no doors, leaving investigative rabbits to chase another day. While forensic tech has leapt from analog microscopes to micro-CT scans and genealogical family tree searches, the Son of Sam evidence boxes remain largely static. New York's 2024 cold case grant allocated $8 million for DNA retesting, but officials excluded Berkowitz's crimes, calling them fully adjudicated. Supporters of renewed testing argue that validation of a lone shooter conclusion or confirmation of accomplices could quell decades of speculation and perhaps link or eliminate related cold cases. Critics of reopening say resources belong to crimes with unidentified perpetrators, especially when Berkowitz himself stands convicted. The standoff underscores a broader criminal justice debate. How do you weigh the value of certainty against the cost of modern reinvestigation? Son of Sam altered city life. Apartment dwellers installed deadbolts. Police protocols for serial shooters evolved, and tabloid ethics collided with public right to know. Netflix's new tapes underline how a single voice can dominate the narrative, yet they also highlight the silence around experts whose data never makes the final cut. Whether Berkowitz was a lone gunman, a cult conspirator, or a pivot between myth and mental illness is still an active question in some circles. What remains uncontested is the societal imprint. Fear turned into policy, headlines turned into cultural shorthand, and a murderer whose name still opens wallets at paperback racks. So do the fresh tapes close the book or prove how many pages are still unnumbered? Does the possibility of accomplices linger in rifling grooves and old telexes? Or has the confessor's word already set the record? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Lone killer, cult plot, or investigative dead end, and let's weigh the evidence together. While you're here, hit subscribe and ring the bell. The next crime doc will promise answers too, but the final word might still hide between the edits.